and we were in a lot of despair. Everybody was wondering what was going to happen. Was North Charleston going to survive? Were we going to lose the retail businesses that we had because we were losing 20,000 military and 6,000 civilian jobs? But we worked through it, and we did it not just as North Charleston, but working with other communities as well. And I can tell you, if we look back at base closure and the effect it had, if nothing else, it made the entire Low Country come together and work together. And that was not a trend back in the 70s. So it's been a blessing for me to be able to serve, to make changes, to grow the city. We're still the #1 retail city in the state of South Carolina. We've gone from about 375 employees to about 1,100 employees in the city. This year we implemented by example. I mean, we can go to businesses and tell them you need to have a starting salary of no less than $15 an hour. But I didn't feel like I could ask that unless we set the example over the last 3-year period. This year, we have no starting employee that's a full-time employee that makes less than $15 an hour, no matter what that position is. Which means that once you've been here through your period, you ramp up even above that. We've done that without increasing the budget. When I became mayor, we had about a $200,000 undesignated fund balance. Today, we have in excess of $20 million undesignated fund balance, which means in case of a catastrophe, we could operate for months without any outside income coming. It also helps us in our bonding issues. If we've got a secure balance, when we go to borrowing money, it helps us, and that's why we've been able to do so many projects. We'll have our new gym opening up at Remount and I-26. It's a 3-gym complex. It's something I think all of you will be proud of. It's a place that we can not only have a place for our children to enjoy, but we can bring in outside folks that will be paying hotel, motel accommodation fees, food and beverage tax, and enjoying North Charleston at the same time. Local government can do it as a federal minimum wage that is established. So to answer that right quickly, and if we've got $120 million in fund balance, I sure would like to know where it is and see it. And we have an external audit annually. We have to come in and look at all of our finances, and they give us issues where they think we need to improve in areas that they think are okay, but this is an outside group and we rotate that. We have to. We do not keep one for over a period of 3 years. And if you look at the city's finances, we have to maintain some balance, but we invest heavily in this community. If you look at some of the projects that are going on right now, I've already mentioned the new 3-gym complex. It's going to be where we've got kids that can't afford to do travel ball, so we're going to bring travel ball here. We're going to bring it where our kids can participate and the parents don't have to pay for hotel rooms, food, and things of that nature for their children to take advantage of it and enjoy themselves. We've just opened 2 new senior centers in the last 1.5 years. We've got 2 more planned. The next one will be in the south end of the city. It should start construction next fiscal year. We've got one that needs to then go to the north end. And that's for all seniors 50 years or older that want to participate. And once you join one, you're a member of all, so you can use any of those facilities. These are folks that have been left out over the years because the city had to catch up from a lot of things we didn't have. You gotta remember, we're only 48 years old as a city. We're still very young compared to others, but we still try to go out and do things that make us have a better community to live, work, and play in. I can tell you, you can say what you want about our police department. We have one of the finest police chiefs in the state of South Carolina, if not in the Southeast. He was trained through this department to get where he is today. His love for the community is greater than any police chief that I've ever seen or ever met anywhere in the state. And we are making strides. We're making improvements, but it takes the community to work with law enforcement to accomplish that. So I encourage you to be supportive of our law enforcement in your neighborhoods so that we can make the quality of life better in every neighborhood in the city of North Charleston. Hey, under his leadership, for the first time in 5 years, we are full capacity of law enforcement. We've been able to fill every position. Because those positions are now filled, we have a grant to add 7 more police officers that will be paid for by the federal government for 2 years, and then we roll them into our own budget. But until we were at 100%, we couldn't utilize the grant, which makes sense. The police department has always had someone they have to answer to. Just like every other department in the city, it falls under the mayor's office. So when they have needs that are above and beyond what their budget calls for, or if they need to make adjustments in their budget, then they come to the administration to do so. And I can tell you, I have never turned down anything that Chief Burgess has wanted, because he is a great cop, he does a great job for us, and he's a wonderful leader. He's a leader not only in the department, but within the community as well. And for someone to say that he is a token police chief is an out and out lie. And the chief reports directly to me. If I'm not available, he reports to my other assistant. I mean, that's a common chain of command for every department in the city. But on behalf of Mr. Driggers, he is a happily retired individual traveling and enjoying his life.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Response to, it has been makeup of this city. Every department head on a daily basis has a direct line to an assistant in my office so that they can get what they need done in a hurry. Chief Burgess and I have breakfast together every Tuesday morning. We sit down and talk about any needs he has, anything that's going on, any decisions that he has. I can tell you, any reorganization of that department that has occurred in the last year and a half has been his reorganization. Not mine. I'm not a cop. I've got a cop. He knows what he's doing. He's trained to do what he is doing. And he's doing a darn good job. And I can tell you, he knows. If you look on my phone, I have probably 30 texts per 2-week period from him. Every time there's a shooting, I know about it. He lets me know directly. He lets me know the outcome. He lets me know what is going on in capturing people that are doing these things. That's because I am the administrator. But I am the administrator of 1,200 employees. And therefore, I have to have other people that can take and help move things forward when any department head needs it, and every department head goes through that process.
Situation in North Charleston. There's a lack of grocery store there, so a couple of questions here. What about getting a grocery store in the city of North Charleston, the area of Shipwatch Square, when Dixie closed in 2006? Candace, if you were the mayor, how would you address that issue?
Constitution of the city of North Charleston. Those are the things that need to be rewritten in a way where people aren't afraid to be involved, where people aren't afraid to stand at the podium addressing their elected officials, where they know that they're not going to be mistreated soon thereafter. You know, if I take an oath, you know, I keep the oath, and my oath is there will be a grocery store available to anybody to walk to. And I about guarantee you that Walmart with their little grocery stores would have been there a long time ago if they weren't nervous about coming to North Charleston and what they had to do to get there.
Whether they can support a grocery store is not the issue.
There's a grocery store in the Mixon, if you go there, and it was just done. And so when we consider the food desert that we have, there's absolutely no reason whatsoever that we should not have a grocery store, except the area is targeted for gentrification. And if you want people to move out, then you cannot nurture them.
Offered to subsidize any loss of operation to any grocery store that would go in there, we would make them whole. We can't get, how many grocery stores are closing around the area now? Because people are buying online. You can call, what is it, any of the stores now and make your order, drive up, they'll come out, bring it, put it in your car for you. It's not the grocery stores like it used to be. We have worked hard to try to get a grocery store in that area, to the tune of even trying to do a community grocery store. We're working on something now that we may be able to get some money to do that through a grant, but it will have to be operated by the community. We cannot get any chain grocery store. We have a 2-acre tract in Shipwatch Square that is designated for a grocery store, and our council would give it to any grocery store that would come.
Wait a second, everybody. The mayor promised this community, promised on video, to build a grocery store for, quote, those people. For those people. If the city had to pay for it, with $150 million in surplus, and us giving $1 million at a time, we gave $1 million to Philip Berlinski, attorney, and they refused to tell why. We gave $1 million to the museum, and on. We're giving millions of dollars at a time, but we refuse to put a grocery store in that area. There is absolutely no excuse whatsoever for that kind of behavior.
Rebuttal, I challenge you to give me legitimate documentation on anything you just said.
For increased bus frequency to get them to various employment and education opportunities. As mayor, what action would you take to increase the frequency of bus service to better serve the people who need it? I want to start with Mayor Summey.
Well, we probably have the largest ridership in public transportation in the area. Is it adequate? No. But Carter is not operated by any one government. The buses came through the federal government at first. Now they're having to replace them. They're trying to get grants. We had to take over from them the building of the new train station, bus station, because they couldn't make it happen. By the way, there's a grand opening of that Monday if you would like to come at 10 o'clock. But we are in the middle. We are the hub. Everything comes through us. You've got both interstates intersect in North Charleston, but on any given day, as a city of about 115,000 people, there's 350,000 people driving through North Charleston. Some of them stop, some of them don't, but they're coming through. And the roads that they're traveling on are controlled by the state and the federal government. They're not having any difficulty building a port access road, but we, in an agreement, are supposed to get 3 new overpasses to help us at rail crossings so that traffic will continue to move. And to date, they've not come up with funding, no guarantees, but yet in the agreement, they will be in place by the time the port opens. It can't happen. It will not do us any good to sue the state government in state court, so we'll be going to federal court in a lawsuit.
Thank you. Singletary, Dixon, Peele, and Dodd.
Never needed one. This public transportation was excellent everywhere I lived. Excellent. I get anywhere I wanted to go any day of the week that I wanted to go there, and for a reasonable amount of money. This is in 1985. Our current mayor, the incumbent, who's built a really great city. I cannot take that away from him. He took office 25 years ago, and the city has grown, and it's growing immensely. But one of the tasks of a mayor is to have vision and foresight of what is to happen, what's to come. And in 25 years, there's been no significant changes to our transit system under this mayor, to make it so that now we shouldn't even have to have this conversation, because we should already have a transit system in place that accommodates anybody and everybody in the Tri-County area. But this conversation is now being pushed forward because of people like William Hamilton and Best Friends with Low Country Transit, who have been out here grinding and pushing Carter and other entities to start looking at greener ways to get people around.
I think a lot of times the problem with planning is that we plan for the traffic needs that we have today. And by the time that we are finished with those installations, it's 5 or 10 years later. And we really need to be planning for the growth that we're going to experience in the next 5 or 10 years. Expect that growth to come and plan for that today. I agree with some of the statements that both Singletary and Dixon have said. You know, Singletary mentioned an economic development fee. When we're bringing in these large organizations like a Boeing, like a Mercedes-Benz, that's great. They bring those jobs, but they also bring those people. And so they are exacerbating some of the issues that are caused by the growth that they themselves are bringing. So requesting that they contribute into the community so that we're solving things like traffic and infrastructure and housing is not above board. But we need to get creative about how we're solving getting people around the city and how we're moving people, not just within North Charleston, but also to other areas in the Tri-County. Because like Mayor Summey said, a lot of people come through North Charleston. We are a hub. And another thing that Dixon said was we need greener ways of getting people around, which I agree with. I support the bus rapid transit project. You know, we can't afford a light rail. The ridership won't support it, and I know you all don't want your tax dollars to continuously be going to support a project that's always going to be in a deficit. So we can get the bus rapid transit, which is going to be a dedicated line from Somerville to the peninsula that can get folks from Somerville to downtown within less than an hour. So we need to support projects like that, but we also need to support infrastructure for folks who don't own a car, but they want to be able to walk around and they want to be able to bike around safely. So safe bike lanes and safe sidewalks, because we also got to serve those folks who don't have a car and who aren't riding the bus. So continue to focus on CARTA. I understand the city doesn't tell CARTA what to do, but we have a pretty big bat to bring to that playground because they serve so many of our riders, and our riders pay so much of their budget. So we got to get creative about solving it, but we also need to continue to invest in the public transit system, not just the buses, but in our bus rapid transit.
Traffic going through North Charleston, and I don't think the different governments are really working together very well. And I honestly don't know why that's happening. I don't know if it's like the fire hydrant complex where everybody's got to have their own fire hydrant to do whatever they're going to do to, and they don't want anybody else doing anything on the fire hydrant. But you know, the bus rapid transit has already been paid for. The voters voted for a percentage of their taxes to go to it. The money's there, and this is indicative of our governments not working together, because we have a government, Charleston City Council, or County Council I should say, Charleston County Council, that instead of taking the money the voters voted and using for that, they keep trying to divert it to build a highway for rich white people to go to Kiowa. You know, it's like our elected officials don't care what the voters have voted for, but somehow they never get it done, even though the voters voted for it. And somehow the money keeps sitting there and they keep trying to take it and use it somewhere else. And it goes right back to what I'm saying. There's people at the top of the food chain do whatever they want, and people at the bottom of the food chain suffer. They don't have rapid transit because governments are either working together to keep it from happening, or they have an absolute failure of being able to work together.
We see it over and over and over, far too often. Guns are being pulled out and used in public places. Most recently, the parking lot of Northwoods Theater. As mayor, what will you do to support the police in their efforts to reduce gun violence in our city? And how do you feel about gun control laws? what would you do to support the police in reducing gun violence in the city and your belief on gun control laws? Start with Pastor Dixon. Ms. Peele. Floyd.
Let me correct that. Most recent situation was just yesterday when a privately owned vehicle with citizens and children happened to cut off another vehicle, and the other instance of road rage where the driver of the other vehicle or occupant of the other vehicle decided to chase that vehicle and fire shots into a car with kids, and then happened to outrun law enforcement, which is that's not exactly the way it usually works out. So that was just yesterday. Gun violence in North Charleston is ridiculous. It's off the chain. As I said earlier, per capita, 2 out of the last 3 years has been higher than the city of Chicago. And that's reality. We need a plan. We need a working plan. I come from the streets of Chicago. Probably the only candidate up here that's been shot at, okay, in a non-military situation. I know one here has lost a loved one to gun violence. But the thing is, though, I've been out here in the streets grinding, trying to end this gun violence for years. I've stood with mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers over the years, and I've cried with them and been at cemeteries and more funerals than you want to shake a stick at trying to end this gun violence. I was elected to the Beatty Campaign's National Board of Trustees because of the work I've tried to do here, tried to integrate my work into the North Charleston Police Department under Chief Zuma and under Chief Driggers, and was just ignored all the while that I tried to bring input stuff. Born and raised in, I'll use this bully pulpit of the 3rd largest city in South Carolina to ensure that our state legislators understand that common sense gun legislation, especially expanding Brady background checks that has since 1994 kept 3 million guns out of the hands of people who should not have them. I will make them understand that the mayor of the 3rd largest, soon to be 2nd largest city in South Carolina wants this done and wants it done right away. I'm an advocate, I'm an activist, and I will not drop that just because I take on the title of mayor. What needs to be done for the people will be done in order to protect and serve the people.
I love my neighbors. They're the best neighbors that anybody could ever have, and I appreciate my neighbors. This is a very complicated issue. In 3 minutes isn't fair. I do want to tell Mr. Burgess, I wouldn't have recognized Mr. Burgess in a Walmart or anywhere else, but I will say that the new hires, the new officers that you've been hiring, I've been so impressed. The difference between the old school, the school that promoted things that police should never have done, and losing the respect of the community. You know, thank you for that. When you lose the respect of the community, you know, I won't say that just because you have problems in the street, you have problems all the way at the top. But I will say this much. In any organization, if you have problems at the top of the organization, they shall manifest at the lowest levels. And I think that that's one of the things I'm afraid of, is that there's people, and I actually believe that this gun violence in North Charleston is really greed violence, you know, and to explain that, the love of money is the root of all sorts of evils. Whenever you have people at the top of the food chain that's concerned about the way they look and naming things after their family and friends and throwing favors here and there, that loses the respect of the rank and file citizen. And whenever you lose the respect of the rank and file citizen, they're thinking, well, they're doing their thing. They got their gig, I got to get my gig. And so all it is a mimicking of the problems of the greed that's at the top of the food chain. And keep up the good work. You know, everybody here is saying good things about what's been going on with the new hires and stuff. And some of the longtime police officers are, you know, that are pretty high up in your organization are agreeing with me. You know, so Oh my gosh, I just love
Illegal
what you're
guns,
doing.
illegal guns in the street, and we would love to know where they all come from. Because we've got young people that are out there with guns that we have no report of being stolen. Although we do lose a number of guns out of vehicles, people leave their cars with a gun in their car. It's dangerous. But what we're trying to do is go after the source of where all these guns are coming from. And it's a major challenge because there's so many young people in the streets, and a lot of our gun issues are with people under the age of 25. And the chief is doing an excellent job. We're trying to find out exactly who is bringing them into the area, but they're at the disposal. It's sad, but a lot of times it takes the family to help us, because if you've got a young person in your home that's got a gun and you know it, you need to let us know. I mean, that child does not need to have a gun, and we will be glad to help you eliminate that problem with your child before something happens that your child gets in trouble. It's a sad state of affairs, but if you do have a gun, do not leave it in your car. Do not leave your car unlocked, because there are a number of thefts per year in the city of guns stolen out of parked vehicles. And we need the entire public's help in eliminating that.
You better educate our people. I took the course to carry a gun. And in that course, there were many things that you just would not think about as an everyday citizen without someone who is trained, sitting down and telling you and giving you some explanation. So if you're going to have one, then it is extremely important that that course be taken. Now, when it comes to the violence that we have in North Charleston, we have to first determine whether the gun violence is a problem or a symptom of a larger problem. And I submit to you that the gun violence is not the problem, but it is a symptom. You see, the gun itself is neutral. It takes an active person willing to use that gun to commit violence. And so when we begin to dissect it, we find that the violence that is in the individual that then takes the gun and uses it, normally that comes from an extended period of that individual not being taught something because of lack of education. So the symptom that we have of gun violence, one, chronic joblessness over an extended period of time. Take a look at Michelle Alexander's book, The New Jim Crow. Look at any national study. Violence increases as unemployment increases. So if we want to get the crime down, let's help people get jobs and contracts. We say that we cannot find where the guns are coming from. When it came to the person getting shot on Park Circle, immediately the city reacted and we got that taken care of. On Hanover Street, immediately reaction taken care of. All of our communities are important, every single one of them. When we take a look at gun violence, we have to go back to looking at the family and protecting the family from the inception of that child and what goes on in that family. And if it is a broken home or a whole home that cannot make ends meet, the parents have less time to put into the children. I grew up in a family where we had guns in the house. Not once did we ever touch them, would not even think about touching them, even if we walked by them and saw them, because it was known. Our parents spent the type of time with us to let us know that this is
I
dangerous.
know Ashley said that I offered no solutions, so let me briefly just say solutions, okay? Stiffer penalties for illegal possessions, okay? Instead of slap on the wrist and let back into society, our judges need to do something bigger than that, okay? We need to overturn the no snitch rule that we can do with public service announcements directly from the mayor's office back. We can do that. We need to have gun buybacks with significant incentive for folks to turn in real good weapons as opposed to just a gift card for Walmart.
Time. Thank you all so much. As promised, we have allotted 3 minutes at the end of the program for the candidates to do their closing remarks. We'd like to say that we have a plethora of wonderful questions that we wish we had the opportunity to ask. We will share these with the AKA so that maybe they can establish them and give them back to the candidates for further dialogue. But we'd like to thank you all for your...
We've heard a lot today about all of the issues and everything that's going wrong in North Charleston. But we've got, as a community, some pretty good building blocks to work with. It's not all bad. We've got major manufacturers, Boeing and Mercedes-Benz here, who have put us on the national map. We're the #1 retail city in the state of South Carolina. We've invested in senior centers, athletic complexes, and in Park Circle. And there's no denying the role that Mayor Summey has played in those successes. Mayor Summey, we thank you for your service in the past 25 years to this city. We wouldn't be here without him. But it's time to hand the torch off. It's time to hand the torch to someone with the energy and the leadership that can continue to build on the good things, but also significantly move the needle in some of the bad areas. So let's continue to put our name on the national map by not selling off our land and our resources to the industrial complexes, but by attracting high-profile technology companies here so that we can embrace our identity as the Silicon Harbor. And let's attract green manufacturing jobs here so that our city can be on the forefront of creating solutions for the climate crisis. We can make these changes. But we also got to address the bad, because we cannot be a world-class city until we address some of the issues with our crime, with our inequality, our education, our infrastructure, and our affordability. So we need a leader who's willing to tackle those issues and who's willing to put investment and resources behind tackling those issues. You know, North Charleston has the foundation of a truly great city. And that foundation is our people. It's all of you. We're a very diverse city. We're young and old. We have singles and families, gay and straight, and black and white, y la gente hispánica que viven en esta ciudad. But what we need is a leader who can be a uniting force for all of those groups, who can unite us around working towards the type of vision that we have for our city. And I want to be that leader for North Charleston. We need a leader who can look
I'm not doing this to make you look short. I was the shortest person in my class in every school I was in until the 7th grade. And so I understand. I agree with everything Ms. Peele said. Oh my gosh, you know, what sharp people we have up here. I'm going to go back to what I really think needs to happen. And it really is bringing city government back to the people. Whenever I talk about doubling the city council seats, it's to get more people, it's getting handshakes closer to those making decisions. We need to make the mayor's seat a weak seat. He needs to be a tiebreaker. You know, a visionary. We need visionaries. We don't need people that are delegating and somehow always benefiting themselves. You know, to me, a public servant is somebody who gives more than they take. A self-servant is somebody who takes more than they give. And I think that's a real simple way to look at all the candidates. Which candidate is more likely to give more than they take? And that's the bottom line. Whenever we start preferring other people before ourselves, and including more people, I don't believe that I can even light a candle in front of some of these candidates as far as their intelligence and their experience. But I will tell you this much: I can get people working together. If we focus on loving your neighbor as yourself, we can all do this and make North Charleston a model city for the rest of the country to marvel at.
Thank you. First of all, let me thank the group for putting this on. You've done a wonderful job. It's a great service to the city that you're doing this. Also, let me tell you that I think we've made great strides as a city in the 25 years that I've been mayor. Are we perfect? No way. And I don't know if any city will ever be perfect, but the council and the mayor will continue to strive, no matter who's in that place, to make this a better place to live, work, and play. I'm proud of the city of North Charleston. I'm proud of where we've come from a base closure, where we were losing 6,000 civilian employees and over 20,000 military personnel. And we kept moving. The community came together in support of what we were trying to do to make the state a very vital part of the community of the greater Charleston area. And in fact, it's larger now and it has more input than it ever has. We've got issues, but growth always brings issues, and you have to work with them. One of the major issues that we have is most of the roads in the city of North Charleston are either federal or state or county. They're not city streets. So we have to get permission. I put up stop signs in one of the neighborhoods. The community called and said they had speeding down the street. I went and had our public works department go every other street and put a stop sign. 2 days later, the state pulled them up and said I had no right to put up stop signs on the state street. One person called in a complaint. They pulled them. So that's the type of things that we have to deal with on a daily basis. We want this community and every community within the city of North Charleston to be as strong as it possibly can. And I will continue to work for all the people of the city of North Charleston as diligently as I can to make the quality of life better for each and every one of us. And debate is good. I admire all these folks that are seeking the office, and I believe North Charleston will have a great future no matter who your mayor is.
And it actually showed up for the debate. A true champion gets better and improves by focusing on correcting the mistakes, not just talking about the things that they've done that's been good. Moving forward with North Charleston, we have to admit that we have some things to work on. There's no way to get better without doing that. As much as we would like to say that we have the safe city that protects our citizens, it is not true at this point. We have the highest crime in the state. Under my administration, simple, we will focus on that and correct it. We will no longer be the crime capital of South Carolina. We will no longer be the highest, one of the highest in the nation when it comes to homicides. We have got to correct that problem, and we cannot do that by getting ourselves to believe that everything is okay. When it comes to housing, affordable housing, we need affordable housing in North Charleston. There's no reason why the city should reject individuals who are trying to bring in affordable housing to this city. Under my administration, simple. If you live in North Charleston and you want to own your own home, we will take 30% of your income, 30%, and based on that, we will help you get in a home that you own, not rent. When it comes to the community centers, I've got a plan for a comprehensive community center. That comprehensive community center entails medical within that center, indoor basketball, indoor swimming, police in each one of those centers. Why? Because it allows community policing to be carried out in a better fashion because the department is spread throughout the city. So it's rather than centralized, more distributed.
Off and on. And I don't know about any of you all that might be residents of North Charleston, but consistently we've heard this rosy red picture being painted of the city that has omitted the reality of the daily trials and tribulations that many citizens of North Charleston have to go through. Because they're undereducated, because they're underpaid, because they're being forced from their houses, and because they have to live in fear, can't even sit on their porches anymore. And we're operating right now under an administration, a mayoral administration that's been in power 25 years. And while other segments of North Charleston society has thrived, there's a large portion, especially on the south end, who are not only struggling, but they're drowning. It's a mayor's job to take care of all of the city, not some of the city. To look out for the needs of everyone in the city, not some of the people in the city. Yes, to bring industry into the city, but make sure that those who are in the city are equipped to fill the jobs that come here. Unfortunately, it has not happened in the last 25 years, and that's why we see the problem that's on the south end right now. Along with the fact that, and I respect my opponent here, John Singletary, but he came out of college in '83 and has done nothing to enrich his city since then. Nothing. Where's the fingerprint? Where's the footprint at? It's not there. And we like to talk about the homeboy. Well, I respect the homeboy, but this Cumia has put in more work than everybody on this panel, with the exception of the mayor, and we know what the mayor has already omitted in his work.
You've had no solutions. They nothing has
Excuse me. Where did that come from? There's a such thing as professional decorum no matter where we are. And to lose that professional decorum at any time is inappropriate. And that's why I need to become mayor, because I'm about empowering people to do better, not to drop to the level of hoodism, not to go to that area that allows people to shoot each other and kill each other and disrespect one another, but to raise everybody to a standard where we respect what we each have to say, what we each have to do, and we can agree to disagree without becoming disagreeable. And it's time for a city in North Charleston where that is the order of the day, where we all will work together, and together we all will do better. Thank you. I'm Pastor Thomas Dixon.
From the audience here, that we'll get those questions compiled and get those sent to you. Thank you all for coming out today to hear from the candidates. We certainly do appreciate that. I'm going to ask at this time the members of Omicron Rho Omega Connection Committee to come forward. These ladies have worked tirelessly to try to plan this event today, so we thank them for leading this charge. I am now going to ask the other members of Omicron Rho Omega to step forward. I want you all to see the ladies who are responsible for working in the North Charleston community. So these are the members of Omicron Rho Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Thank you all so very much. I know I am between you leaving here, so I'm going to step aside and let you all go ahead and leave. But thank you so very much for coming.